So let's talk cloud. I know I'm running fast, but I'm going to get you guys on time here. So the opportunity in cloud, hybrid cloud will be the dominant model. And this is George Kurian's vision, the new CEO of NetApp. How many people aren't looking at cloud? See, everybody's. Oh, you're not looking at cloud? Not looking at cloud.
Oh, no.
Okay. So private cloud is becoming a part of hybrid cloud. It's compelling. All our customers are looking at NetApp is not going to become a cloud provider. They're partnering with a cloud provider. So you have a cloud provider, you have the hyperscaler folks like Amazon, Azure, and Google, and then hypercloud will, you can take an app in the cloud, develop it. If you need more I/O, which could be more expensive there, you can bring it back in-house. So it's lifecycle management. At the end of the application, you can move it back to the cloud. So it's automatic lifecycle management within hybrid. So this one will look familiar to a lot of you. It's just the flexibility of cloud. How do you meet demand within your own private data center? It's very difficult. You're either wasting by over-provisioning or you're under-provisioning and can't go quickly. So the new model is to be flexible. People don't necessarily go to cloud because it's less expensive, just like maybe virtual desktop may not be less expensive. But there's operational efficiencies to do it, and that's why we're seeing customers look at that. So now, when we look at hyperscaler versus cloud and private, this is kind of the dial we're seeing our customers make decisions on. So the strategy here is, which category are you going to be in? Where are you going to be 18 months from now? Where are you going to be 3 years from now? And where are you going to be within these solutions? And that's different in a lot of our customers. But setting that dial is where we're helping people get data in and out with cloud providers. Okay, so some unique requirements here. Data has mass. So the key point here is compute is stateless. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. But if you're putting data in the cloud, you're always paying for it because it has the mass. Different cloud providers have different types of storage methods, so it's not so easy to move between one or the other once you're in there, or to even move it back in-house. So what the Data Fabric does is it provides a common format. So I'm going to present a few different NetApp products here as well that allow the cloud to have a common format, which gives you the flexibility to move things in, out, and between providers. Maybe Azure has a lower price than Amazon later. And we're not talking compute, it's the data side that is one of the most important points, and probably something that really is driving hybrid cloud is the data. So one thing we're going to talk about is not losing control. This is where you're going to see a presentation, Simon, with Palo Alto and HITRUST later. The enterprise will always own the data. So you always need to control what happens to your data. So the problem is you have these, we talked about isolated silos here. One cloud provider isn't compatible with the other. So how do you move things around? Well, one example is that you have SnapMirror. You run cloud ONTAP. You can take the SnapMirror and move things between any of the cloud providers or your on-premise, making a hybrid cloud. So what is the answer? The answer is the Data Fabric. So the Data Fabric here is data is costly to move. So by using these native tools with a common format, it's effective and efficient using all the technologies you already know. And one of our big customers always tells us that, hey, cloud is not a different strategy. If you treat cloud as a new strategy, then you're thinking about it wrong. It's really just an outsourced data center. And by using something like these NetApp products, you're now making it a common format between all the vendors. So you control what's in the cloud versus the cloud vendor telling you how to store your data. So let's talk about where we were, in the early mid-2000s. We virtualized storage. We took disk subsystems and virtualized them. Then with cluster data ONTAP, we started scaling out. We said, okay, now I can take multiple nodes. And now, as of the last couple years, we're now virtualizing the cloud itself. So let's go ahead and, I love you. Who's seen this one? Isn't that funny? Anyway. So when we talk the hyperscaler versus cloud, that comes up sometimes. And you can see the hyperscaler providers are the IBM SoftLayer, Amazon, Azure, Google. Then you have your standard cloud service providers. Now, we have AltaVault, which was formerly SteelStore, which is a backup gateway, an archive gateway. That can connect to cloud. You can also go right to Amazon and buy a cloud appliance for it. There's also FlexArray and NetApp Private Storage. FlexArray is taking any other vendor's disk and virtualizing it behind NetApp. And then NetApp Private Storage is where you own the system and put it in the Equinix data center. And we'll show you a slide on that here. So cluster data ONTAP with Mirror and Vault and on command. We're going to show some flex pods today, but let's go over the feature set here. You can take all your infrastructure messaging databases and put them in the cloud just by using this cloud technology, the same ONTAP you know today. Private storage for Azure and AWS, and also now SoftLayer. And you can also do an AMI image of any of those as well. So I'm going to go over some of the products real quick, and let's see our timing here. Okay, I'll do this in 5 minutes. So storage grid, without reading this slide, what storage grid is an object store. S3 and CDMI compatible if you want to have your own on-premise. So what we've done is some people say, you know what, I want to have my backup, but I want it on-premise. So instead of using S3, we can install this locally and use an on-premise cloud. So that'd be a private cloud. Now the AltaVault appliance, this is a CIFS NFS gateway. It can connect again to the storage grid, or it can connect to any of the cloud providers. So what we're seeing this is for dedupe, compression, and encryption all in one box for backup and archive. So again, I already talked to that, NAS protocols, and can replicate to the cloud. If we use the web scale behind it, we can actually replicate the object store as well to different sites. Primary use cases, backup recovery, and cold storage. The key difference here is backup recovery, we can add disk shells for cache, for read cache, and for cold storage, we can scale much larger into petabytes, 10, 20 petabyte type scenario, and we just store the metadata only. So a wide range of integrations. You can see on the top left all the backup vendors, and every backup vendor you're working with is supported on here. And the dedupe rates are very, very good because it's variable block length. So a lot of efficiency. So however, if you're using some of your backup software vendors to write to the cloud today, this will give you more efficiency than you get because it's all in the hardware. So some cloud services built on NetApp. It's kind of a cool slide. So now I'm going to talk about Cloud ONTAP, and then we'll finish this up here. So it's always on, scale out, and cloud programmable. The way it was designed is storage virtual machines. So right out of the box, it's multi-tenant. It also does quality of service natively, which is important because you might want one tenant who can have 5,000 IOPS, another tenant who only gets 400 megabyte a second, for example. So you can see here your standard FAS, Flex Array. ONTAP Edge is back. That is a VMware version of Data ONTAP. So if you have a remote office and you want to put in NetApp storage without, on your own private cloud, we can do that natively on the VMware environment. There's also private storage, NetApp Private Storage, which means I can connect into the Equinix data center. They can pipe me into Azure, SoftLayer, or into Amazon. So if you don't like one vendor, you simply unplug the cable, plug it into the next one, virtually, that's speaking. And then there's also Cloud ONTAP, which this is the pure virtualized image. So you can see here, there's the Equinix data center, and you can see the different cloud providers. And what Equinix does is pipes you into any one you want. So someone drops their price on connectivity, connect to the other one, if it makes more sense. So expanding your options, you can snap mirror and snap vault between those different types. So again, we're commonalizing the data. You're not letting the cloud vendor tell you what your data type's going to be. So get enterprise class features, get NAS in the cloud, and get integrated support. You get the same support on the virtual versions of this as you get on the hardware versions we sell today. So let's look at the different options. There's the hourly, and then bring your own license. So 2, 10, or 50 terabytes. The bring your own license is where we provide you a key and you go out and get it, up to 50 terabytes there. The hourly is more as you're doing testing, test dev, or something you need to spin up. And this is in the Amazon Marketplace today, along with the AltaVault, the Steel Store appliance. So what are some customer scenarios? Peak workload, enterprise, dev test, DR, any kind of bursty application you may have. Let's move on here. So I wanted to make sure I got to this proof of concept. You can try this for free. poc.netapp.com/cloud. And then you can try out the cloud.